our previous podcast about the fuel tanks for rocket.
Conservatives have, but it makes
for the podcast.
Oh, it doesn't.
She's got some input. She's got some things to say. Breakthroughs right now that are phenomenal. Doing, and we shouldn't be sitting around but like, hey, one day it's going to end and that's going to be it. Yay! No, get the hell out of here. Let's prepare for it. Let's push ourselves beyond it. Let's not repeat history. Let's be the age of people that are able to overcome those cycles. To be wise enough to live beyond that.
Well, yeah, there's already places that they can make it rain when they want it to rain.
Yeah, cloud seeding. We do it a lot.
Yeah, cloud. Yeah, that's. I seen an article on that, or read an article on that. I think it was like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I showed you. All I know.
Yeah, Silas showed it to me.
All I know is I watch InfoWars, and Alex Jones is the closest one to the truth than anybody.
I know he's right about 75% of the time.
These fifth dimensional aliens, he says, that are teamed up with our government and how they're controlling the weather and this.
That's what scares me is that he is right about 70% of the crap that he says he's right. But then those things that you think are scary off the wall are just like that can't be true.
Yeah. And it's like everything he's said is. Say what?
So we will not confirm or deny any of this.
No.
Really, but really, we have an agenda, and
yes,
and it's clear. It's a clear-cut plan. It's something that everybody should be able to get behind. If not, just the simple portions of it: the economic boom, the raw material boom to create the economic boom. It would, get rid of the housing crisis. And all these other problems, the environmental crisis, we could just solve all of that with the hemp revolution. So once again, that should be something that everybody just signs off on. But people still want to demonize hemp, and it's really just mind-boggling that we're legalizing marijuana everywhere, but we're still not going, full forward with the hemp.
Yeah, just state legalization for marijuana, but we don't have a federal law that we can grow hemp and produce anything from clothing to paper. It's mind-boggling.
It's beyond that. I mean, you can make, detergent.
You can make so much from hemp.
You can make food, flowers, fuel, anything you can think of, you can pretty much make it out of hemp. And let me push forward a little more because, beginning this 3D printing thing with the hemp could, just has unlimited possibilities also. So one of the other things.
Like you were talking in our previous podcast about the fuel tanks for rocket ships.
Oh yeah, let me say I'm misquoted on that. The fuel tanks aren't quite as large as I was quoting. And in my defense, I do a ton of research in every field of study. So it's kind of hard for me to keep track of all of it. But either way, it doesn't take away.
Either way, that's still a large fuel tank.
Do this. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't take away from the fact that we're still capable of doing all these things. So, like we talked about being able to print lightweight, components for space shuttles and for, space stations or other spacecraft and things like that. So my other idea for that is once we get these lightweight shuttles and things, we can create basically crawling 3D printing crawling drones, and we will take these bad boys out in space, and all we have to do is get a basic structure, and they can crawl around on that and be 3D printing, the interior portions of these space stations or whatever. We can land them on the moon. They can be crawling around printing 3D structures, and before a human even sets foot down on the moon or on Mars, we can already have those robots there. And at which point, all we're going to have to do is load, some raw material cubes and shoot them up into space and just, put them on a stack, and the robot would go over there and put it on his back and then be, pushing out 3D printing strands. So there's absolutely no limit to this. And we could so absolutely just fast forward into a space age by doing this, that it's just absolutely absurd. You would think that the global elites would be on board with it also, and I really hope that they'll eventually hear this and it'll get to them too. Because if we change the earth from this taxation system into a resource-based system where everybody reaps the wealth of the earth rather than just a few people, it puts them on the back burner for a little while, but it gets us to space faster. And if we get to space faster, then they can get out there and start mining all those asteroids that are worth trillions of dollars worth of gold and everything else.
Yeah,
so
gold and all sorts of unknown metals, or extraterrestrial metals.
Right. So just like the oil is a limited resource on Earth, everything is a limited resource on Earth. And if they want to get tapped into unlimited, resources, then we need to get off of this planet. So they should just go ahead and just, give us the funding to make this happen, convert this taxation slavery system into a resource-based economy, free the people, free the planet, and get off the planet, put some space stations out there, put some bases on the moon. We can start mining the asteroid belt.
Yeah,
man, just mining the asteroid belt alone would be, we could be
trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars.
We could be in a Star Trek type, world.
Yeah.
With cell phones.
It's crazy. I look into this stuff too, and a lot of what you're saying is a lot of what I believe.
Yeah. Like Elon,
what needs to happen. We're just bullshitting, kicking rocks down here, killing ourselves. That's all.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Look at this damn hurricane that's hitting right now. People are drowning and dying while we speak.
I know.
Yeah.
Sorry to be a buzzkill on that, but
no.
Drowning and dying.
This is stuff that people just don't think about.
People crawling out on their roofs because their houses are flooding right now in 100, mile-an-hour winds, probably getting blown off the roof, just dying right now.
It's funny you getting on the Elon topic.
Like this.
The Elon topic made me think, if he's trying to go, he's trying to send humanity to Mars. It makes me think, if hemp puts out more oxygen and takes out more carbon out of the atmosphere. Yeah. If you were capable of creating an atmosphere on Mars, it would be so much easier to put oxygen into that atmosphere if you started growing hemp on Mars.
Absolutely. So that was the plan. So we get these crawling 3D printer drones, start building massive space stations, put them on the moon, build some moon bases and some moon grow houses where we're starting to grow the hemp on the moon. Then we don't even have to break the Earth's atmosphere to keep these drones supplied to just keep the party going. And there's titanium and everything else on the moon. So we can have printer drones that were printing the exterior shells of these space stations out of titanium or whatever metal. And then you can have these other drones that are printing the hemp structural portions on the interior of these space stations.
Yeah. And plus, if we were to have multiple space stations on the moon, if we were capable of having multiple space stations on the moon, I don't really know what the trajectory is from here to Mars, but I know that from here to Mars, you can literally only travel, if you were to try to travel in a straight line anyways, which is the only way we can travel through space at the moment, you can only go there like every 2 years. So if somebody was on Mars you'd have to send resources to them, you would only be able to send them resources every 2 years.
Yeah, so you're waiting for the orbit of the Earth and Mars to be at their closest points rather than when they're on opposite sides of the sun or where they're in their elliptical pattern to where they're just so much of a distance that it just, it doubles or triples the amount of time that it'll take to get there. So there's opportune times for these travels to occur, and for now, we'll have to stick to that.
Yeah, until we have unlimited access to element 115 and we can bend space and time and just go whichever direction we want.
Listen, we're making some breakthroughs right now that are phenomenal, and
I know.
The quantum computing breakthroughs and the AI breakthroughs. And I know Elon's pretty ate up about AI, and I'm not mad at him. I think there should be some heavy restrictions on that.
Yeah, it needs to be regulated.
Yeah.
Yeah, but either way, with that, we're definitely, science and technology is moving at an exponential speed, it just goes, the more we learn, the faster it moves. We've made more breakthroughs in the last 10 years than we did in the 100 years before that. So you can imagine what the next 10 years are going to be like. I mean, it's going to be amazing. I'm really excited to even be here just to witness it. But I still think that we need to repair all this other, correct all these other things, heal our nation, heal our people, and get us all on the right track. And then after that, the possibilities are endless. So there's no reason for everybody to sit around being depressed, getting drunk, taking antidepressants, just barely making it through, committing suicide. We can fix all of this. And we can. It just, I mean, my hair is falling out on a daily basis because I'm sitting I'm sitting on these solutions and nobody gives a damn. Everybody's like, yeah, but voter rights. I'm like, what are you voting for? You're voting for the same stupid shit system that we've been in that is not working. We are dying.
And you're voting in an election. You're voting in an election every 4 years. This election that we vote into, no matter what, they say that even it's approximately, I think it was like 2% of the votes, 2% of all votes every year are definitely false ballots. It's no matter what.
It wouldn't matter anyway. Every year. If the Electoral College still exists, it doesn't matter about voting rights anyway. Yeah. That's why one of the things. But still,
if you think about it, 2% of what is it, 300 and something million right now? 380 million?
It's not even a legit.
302. I can't remember. We have 300 and something million people in America at the moment. 2% of that's a lot of fucking people.
A lot with this technology in this modern world. A lot of these elections are set up.
Yeah.
Well, even with the last election, which was extremely divisive and probably had more people out in voting lines than ever before, we were still under 160 million voters, So really, you're talking about 160 million, and it really wouldn't matter what the percentage is, 2% or whatever. None of it matters because they got the two-party system. They're going to divide everybody with propaganda and bullshit and be like, oh, we need to do this now. This is most important now. This is that. And then, everybody's going to be split. I have black friends and white friends and Hispanic friends, and
conservative, religious.
It's not like all of my black friends voted blue. They didn't. It's split right down the middle. Half of them voted for Trump. Half of them voted for Biden. Same with the Hispanics. A lot of them voted for Trump.
I shouldn't say this either, but
hold on one second. I got a cry alert. Let me check on these guys.
Well, no, I personally feel that Tulsi Gabbard, she would have done a good job. Yeah. Well, as president, if she would have won it.
This is the thing that I found.
Andrew Yang, he would have done a good job too.
If Biden was the threat that we thought he was, why is his administration looking at helping us Idahoans, Montana people of limiting the wolf packs?
Yeah, that, and why isn't he getting? What I want to know is why is he getting so deep into? Why is their administration getting so deep into backing big tech and having big tech? I
don't like big tech, but
no, big tech isn't Facebook and Twitter. They're actually having legislation over it. That's fucking insane to me.
And the thing I was talking about is we were talking about government, how overreach and stuff is. Here in Idaho, we've experienced a drastic. I mean, the Rocky Mountain elk were put here in Idaho years ago, and it created pretty much like cattle almost for hunters to go out and bag an elk on the first day and then put meat in their freezer and stuff. And then these environmentalists thought that we needed to balance out the ecosystem, which is I could see where they're coming from.
I do too. I see where they thought it would be a good idea.
Yeah, but the fact is the wolves have overproduced themselves, and they're not even from our ecosystem. They're from a different area, and they put them here, and now they're 10 feet long, stretching out. They're just destroying the elk population.
200-pound wolves. When we originally had wolves that their max size was 125.
Yeah, and I noticed the Biden administration. This might sound crazy, but I noticed the Biden administration was talking about helping us out in that era.
Yeah, helping to regulate it.
Because if it comes a time like we were talking about resetting and stuff, people are going to need to live off the land, not just energy resources to, power our house, but to go out and be able to not fight over a limited food source. And so these apex predators that are being put in our forest, when we already have apex predators, it just disturbs that whole ecosystem and us being able to feed for ourselves during the reset.
Not to mention the urban development that pushes those animals into areas where people are anyway. So like in Austin, they do a lot of development. They're just putting neighborhoods up everywhere, obviously. But the hill country.
Have coyotes and cougars there? Is that your two main predators, anyways?
What's that?
You have coyotes and cougars, or I guess pumas, whatever you call them in the southern area.
You call them pumas. Some of them are black. You call them jaguars. They're damn mountain lions, what they are.
Yeah, mountain lions. That's what we call them.
I seen one right over here in my neck of the woods. It was about 3:00 in the morning. I was going down, driving through the national forest, and I seen one come across the road. It was as from his ass to his nose was as wide as my truck is. I mean, she was big, and you could see her that she had a couple batches of cubs also. So she was kind of old and definitely had a bunch of babies. So they're out here, no doubt.
One of the things that amazes me about Texas is the fact that in Texas has more tigers in the state than there are in the entire wildlife in the world, in the wild. There's more of them in Texas.
Yeah,
it's really sad.
But yeah, I'm on board with everything you stand out for. It's common sense. It's different from. I mean, a lot of people. It's different from the propaganda we've been fed, because with these people that have control over a lot of things, they have progressed this agenda. Not necessarily like. I mean, to a lot of people, patriots and stuff, it looks terrible and stuff, which is. I mean, their actual agenda, the UN agenda, looks pretty terrible. But the way how to go about it the right way when it comes to resources and it comes to energy and stuff is what needs to get out there. And I think what you represent is the right way to do it. They have an idea. These people have an idea, but their souls are engulfed in something else, or whatever the case may be. But the right way to do it is what you're saying to me, and I've done this research. And
it's a soft reset rather than a hard reset, and the hard reset isn't going to work out. And I don't know what all these right-wing extremists think they're going to do. They're going to have a civil war, kill half the country, and then they're going to hold it down on their own. That's not what's going to happen. What's going to happen is we're going to get caught with our pants down, and then Russia and China, the world power balance has just shifted since the Taliban took over Afghanistan.
So
now
right.
You got Iran, Pakistan, China, Russia, and Talibanistan, whatever you want to call it now. Like, they have more militant power than the rest of the world now. So that's a scary thought, man. And we have let that slip. So now we are not the global power anymore. So that's scary. So if we have this portion of our country that thinks that they're going to murder the other half, and they're still going to be all right, it's not going to happen. We're going to get caught with our pants down, and that's when it's going to be World War III is what it's going to be.
Yeah. We have to be able.
Most people don't know.
We have to stand up to the ones that are in our country to make the change. Not necessarily.
That's a damn shame. We shouldn't be having to fight ourselves just to establish this, this long overdue changes. And they're completely fooled. Hey guys,
you gotta love them.
Really ridiculous. So, can y'all hear that very loud, or can you?
Not really bad. Not really bad on mine.
Fair enough. So, let's talk about that for a second. The global power balance has shifted to the wrong side. Yep. To the same people, to the same mentalities that we've been fighting since World War I. So now they're back in power, and that's scary because they, China did they've been doing their Belt and Road Initiative all over the place. So they've been putting, Navy ports and things like this all over the place.
Yeah, and they get their fingers and everything with like Facebook and Twitter and all the different platforms that they can. They get their, they just get a piece of the pie if they can.
What that is, it's a process of global domination, and putting the Belt and Road Initiative, where they're going in and getting these countries under their contracts, and they build their highways and stuff, and they put those countries in their debt, and then it makes those countries subservient to them. They're like, hey, now, and then they just keep working that wedge until they have complete power over those areas. And at that point, those people are going to be submissive to them if they decide to launch a global domination. They'll be like, look, we already own you. Don't make us pull out everything we've invested.
Yeah.
We're just going to take you over because we pretty much own you anyway. So that's kind of what's happening right now. And everybody over here that thinks that they're going to pull something off and produce this, perfect Christian country, and it's going to be all, rainbows and sunshine after that, they're out of their damn minds. They don't know what.
It's the same plan Hitler had, except, just a different route, a different route and a different type of people that they don't want in their society.
They're trying to get us to fight each other instead of fighting the problem in our.
That's exactly what they're doing. The propaganda, and Putin and China, all them, they're all behind it, and that's all they do. So we have literally
the CCP.
We have literally, found them manipulating the fronts. Like Russia would set up meetings, like a Black Lives Matter protest, and they do like a Second Amendment protest right across the street or whatever. So they'd have these people right next to each other trying to set it off. And what would happen is, one of these people got in a fight, and one of them accidentally shot one of the other one, and that's all it would take is that one little spark, and then it could go nationwide overnight. Any of the George Floyd incident, the who was that guy in Kenosha? Kyle Rittenhouse. Yeah, any one of those incidents could have been the one that tipped it. And in one of my videos, I said, and this would have absolutely been true, if Trump had won 2020, the left would have rioted, and it would have been ugly, and the Trumpers would have went out and been like, not this time, and they would have went to shut it down, and that's where that ethnic cleansing would have begun, and we would have already had a civil war if Trump had won.
Yeah. So so smart.
Listen, that's what would have happened. And right now, they're still just looking for some justification, some excuse.
Trying to set it off.
Right now, where, because I know these people, I talk to them on a daily basis. Right now, they're so upset about the COVID thing, and they're so in denial about it or whatever. They don't want to do the vaccines, and I don't want to talk about, pro-vax or anti-vax or anything like that. But now they're at the point where they believe that if they go to the hospital with COVID, that the doctors are killing them intentionally, and it doesn't have anything to do with COVID. They believe that it's not COVID, and the doctors are killing them. And now that's another thing that could easily.
Yeah, it's from a lot of that propaganda that was at the beginning of the pandemic. There was a lot of propaganda of people talking about doctors letting patients die because they were getting money for every person that was dying. It's like, well, that doctor wasn't getting money. The hospital's getting money. So
$13,000 per COVID patient.
The ultra wealthy are getting the money. It has nothing to do with the workers or anybody with with the real. I hate to say blood on their hands because it's it's the ultra wealthy with the blood on their hands in this matter.
Yeah.
But exactly.
And that's another thing I was going to say too is like, I think COVID was rolled out. This whole thing, the government tried to roll it out to as like we were saying, is the Civil War stuff and how the Black Lives Matter was going against the Patriots or whatever. Anything that the media can grab to stir up attention. I think that the COVID thing was another deep test for right-wing, patriots, being forced to, do those things, which is a lot of these people don't understand. These people that have this power, they're scared. They get more scared the more we hold back and the more we see through their bullshit.
Yeah. Let me tell you about something that a lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't have their eye on the ball because they can't see it through the war fog of propaganda. And that's what I say, that we're in a country that's in a cold revolution and a cold civil war. None of them ever ended. They just were prolonged, in the shadows in the background by all the malarkey.
Yeah,
So
people just continue to see red.
Yeah, so whether the COVID was a naturally occurring thing or whether it was created in the lab or whatever, we're dealing with it, and the corporations are taking advantage of it like they always do. So I didn't really tell a lot of people, but I've been well, for most of my life, I was an undiagnosed type 1 diabetic. So I'm a type 1 diabetic, and I do have to give myself insulin shots on a daily basis just to survive. So within the last few months, the insurance companies have sent reps to my house with cell chipped devices. Now, I don't even need internet for these things to work. They have cell chips in them. And what they want me to do is check my vital statistics. And what they say is they're like, hey, we're going to give you this device so you can, check your blood pressure or check your sugar. And we just want you to do that, once or twice a day. And it'll send the information to the insurance company and to the doctor so that we can provide you with better care. Now,
when I was in high school,
on my doorstep. Hold on. They're on my doorstep. And I'm like, listen, I'm already not getting the care that I need at all. So you're not going to come over here and hand me some device that obviously cost a pretty penny to make and try to get me, to send my vital statistics data in for you so you can harvest that data and make more money off of me like a cow, like cattle. I was like, so you can take your damn device and get it out of here because I'm not going to use the damn thing. And listen, here's the catch. They're like, well, listen, the insurance companies are going to stop, paying for so many things for people that won't comply. And I was like, that's great. I'm not going to comply. So you go ahead and try to let them cut off my insulin or something like that. And then we'll hand it over to the media and see how that shit flies. Because it ain't going to, buddy. So that's what's going on right now. The insurance companies are finagling the circumstances of COVID so that, and if they pass a mandate right now that'll say, hey, if you didn't have your COVID shot, then we don't have to pay for you. It doesn't have anything to do with right now. COVID could go away and it could be 10 years down the line. And they'll be like, hey, well, you're not doing what we think you should. So we're not going to pay for your gallbladder surgery. We're not going to pay for your, your cysts to get removed. We're not going to pay for your cancer treatment. It's all some bullshit. And it doesn't really have to do with, the things that we're fighting each other about. It has to do more with them gaining more leeway over us, more control over us so that they can, spend their money how they want to. And it's not in our benefit.
Yeah,
so
that's one thing I don't understand.
Know that's going on.
Yeah, I don't understand. One of the things I don't understand with that anyways is the fact that they are all, all the higher ups are making money off of that, off of insulin. The big pharma is making money off of the insulin. But insulin is one of those things that you need to survive, especially for people with diabetes. They need it to survive. But a druggie can get Narcan for free in this free market economy we live off of right now. A lot of the
printing money with nothing to back it.
Yeah, a lot of the platforms.
That's what I said.
A
promissory note is a slave's hall pass. It doesn't mean shit.
Yeah.
All they want is the resources. And the more they can chip us down to the less they have to pay for, then that's just the more billions or trillions that they get to acquire for themselves. Doesn't have anything to do with us or our safety or our benefit or anything. So like you're talking about the insulin. Yeah, I need that to survive. If I don't have insulin on a day, my shit's going downhill pretty quick. Within a week, things are going to be looking really, really ugly. Even having it, it's still a tedious balance for, my diet and exercise, to keep myself healthy. So it's already a struggle, even having it on hand. But in America, well, let's say any other developed country in the world, it costs about $9 for one of these pens. In America, it costs close to $100 for one fucking pen. So there's a lot of diabetics.
That's not a free market.
There's a lot of diabetics who order their insulin, from different countries like Canada and stuff. But the U.S. Customs has the legal right to confiscate that as it comes over the border. And then they can legally prosecute the people if they wanted to. But I'll tell you, they can, and they could probably pull it off, and they probably have done it. But if the people were smart enough, they would say that this is entrapment, because any person would do the same thing if they were put in that situation. And basically that's what entrapment is. If you put anybody, any typical person in these circumstances, would they do that? Yes, they would. So if they put you in those circumstances and you did what any typical person would do, and they try to prosecute you for that, that's entrapment. So honestly, you could finagle your way out of it with the same legal loopholes, but it just depends on how the judge looks at it or wants to do it. Because if you think that, I was 17 years old and I got caught with some marijuana, and I went to court, and there was a woman right in front of me in line, saw the judge right before I did, had the same exact charge, possession of marijuana less than 2 ounces, and they gave her a $1,500 fine, and she walked. I went up because she had the money to pay right then. I didn't have any money to pay right then. I barely paid for the lawyer, who really didn't do shit for me. And guess what they did for me? $1,800 fine, 80 hours of community service, a year and a half of probation, where I had to pay for, the urine analysis, and they were doing this eye scan thing at the time, but I had to pay for all of that. I had to pay for, the probation fees. I had to pay the $1,800. I had to do 80 hours of community service. And they, so I was going to work and then going to do community service in the evenings. And, it just ruined my life for a year and a half.
Yeah, over the amount of pot that you couldn't even sell.
Right. And the same that some rich woman from the Woodlands, Texas, had the same exact charge, and she just paid, the $1,500 fine and walked. Whereas I had to have, over a year of my life, enslaved to the system and made a meal ticket out of. But what's it all about, man? Am I a horrible person because I had marijuana, because I was a teenager with some marijuana?
No.
Shit, man.
There's 90% of them around here are running around with it too. So,
oh my God! Listen, I grew up in this small town over here, all right, and I knew everybody knew everybody, so I knew every cop. And the cop there, Lieutenant Jones, one of the higher ranking officers. I was working at McDonald's when I was 14, and I remember sitting outside on my break, and he comes up and or he had pulled up, and then he came and was like just leaning on the table, come talking with us. And as soon as he came up, I was like, man, it smells like weed out here, like a motherfucker. I was like, what's going on? And I looked over at him, and his eyes were just bloodshot red. I was like, holy shit. I was like, this motherfucker is stoned. And he was one of the highest ranking officers on the force. So it's all bullshit, man. It's all the good old boy system. We'll prosecute who we want, and we'll let go who we're related to. And that's exactly why I'm like, listen, forgive all nonviolent crime right off the cuff. Just let it go, And most people were like, well, what are we going to do when these people come out? Where are they going to go? What jobs are they going to have? I was like, that's where the hemp revolution is going to take care of everybody. We're going to, divert the housing crisis. We're going to have, jobs or farming positions and things like that. But automation is taken away anyway. So we got to usher in this whole UBI thing. And that's where the financial elites are going to have to just go ahead and bow to the resource-based economy rather than the tax-based economy, because we need the people. So, and they're going to need an income. So we use those, we establish those user data rights. And not only are we going to use the income from that to supplement the, initializing the UBI, but we also put that clause in there for people to be able to make more money off the extra ad views and everything else. So that's just to start it, to kind of start the trend for the soft reset rather than the hard civil war takeover, get World War III, be dominated, and then China owns the globe. So to do the soft, safe resets and, get our people out of prison and, give them, and also the hemp revolution, it brings the cost of living down. It brings the cost of everything down because we're able to supplement every industry with its diversity.
And it puts more money back in the pockets of the people.
Yeah. So we'll reduce the prices, and then the people will have you know, the universal basic income, to where they already have a sustainable life without having to rob anybody, or you know, or kill anybody, or do any of this dumb shit. I mean, I'm in the Houston area, man. The south side of Houston is rough. You know, people get robbed on a daily basis. People get, there was, God bless, a woman's child was shot in the head just driving down the road from random gunfire, and things like that. And all these, you know, these conflict zones in our own country, it's all about resources. These people aren't running around because it's fun. Well, not most of them. The majority of them are out trying to get theirs. You know, that's what it's about. So once we get rid of that material scarcity ploy, and there's enough for everybody to go around, and everybody already has a little paycheck where they can, at least, if you know that you have enough money to eat and have some fun and some entertainment and do your thing, you're not going to be like, you know what, I want to go out and risk my life with a gun and try to rob some people. It might, you know, it might not. No, they're going to be like, you know what, I don't really give a shit. Stay home and eat some cereal and play video games.
I don't know a lot about the universal basic income. I don't know a lot about that. Would that eliminate a minimum wage?
Yeah.
Would it eliminate the need for a minimum wage?
It would change the dynamics of everything. So basically, it gives everybody like a base set income. Like Andrew Yang was talking about giving everybody $1,000 a month, and that was just basically. And he wasn't even talking about the whole mineral rights thing or the user data rights or anything like that. And
you can't give people $1,000 a month off. Tax. Sorry.
It's hard to pan that out, and everybody's like, oh, well, that's going to be so many $1 trillion a year, and that's the national deficit of blah blah blah. It doesn't pan out.
Yeah, and it raised taxes.
Yeah, I don't know where he was coming from with that exactly, because I didn't really go over his math because I had my own ideas. But that's where, you know, the user data rights comes in, and then having that option for people. Not only will they have that that basic income already, whatever it is, $1,500 a month or whatever, they would also have the ability to do these extra ad views, or, you know, do product reviews or extra surveys, and make extra money. And it doesn't even have to be like, you know, paper currency. We could make it where it's a cryptocurrency thing, because that you already see it on there. People are like, hey, do this or file this, and we'll give you, you know, $50 in cryptocurrency. So,
if your money's in the bank, then your money's already cryptocurrency. You know, I have all my money from my bank right here.
Yeah, like I said, the promissory note is just a slave's hall pass. That's all it is, and it doesn't really matter because they've been fudging the numbers forever. So that's exactly correct. It's basically just legitimizing this bullshit that's happening, and putting the power back into the people. And like I said, giving everybody that initial worth, like before you even wake up or step outside your door, you know, and especially when we eliminate the income taxes and the homestead property taxes. So if your father handed down a house to you, you don't have to worry about losing it to taxes. So you're already set. You're like, damn, I got a place to live, I got something to eat, and I'm good no matter what happens. So depression rates are going to just drop. Suicide rates are going to drop. All of these things are just going to, you know, kind of dissipate. And
they take care of themselves.
That's one of the points that I keep trying to make to everybody. It's like we keep fighting on all these different fronts, the voters' rights, the, you know, whatever it is, whatever front you're fighting on. And I keep saying we're not going to have true justice while we're operating under a corrupt system. And exactly the opposite. Once we fix the corruption, everything else is really going to fall into place through natural attrition. We won't have to keep trimming this dragon's toenails once it's dead. Everything is just going to start working out the way it should. And we won't have to fight for every little right. And we shouldn't have to, because it's the land of the free, you know, not the land of the fight to be free.
Yeah. And that's one thing we all, as, you know, just people trying to survive in the everyday life, is we have to work for what we want, you know. And some people have to work harder for the same things as other people, but that's just a matter of, you know, where were you born, when were you born, and
who are you related to? Are you in the
who are you related to?
Yeah. So
Those are all factors.
Tell you what, that's the demise of the majority of our industries, because you get, these guys who hire their cousins and this, that, and the other, and you get people that aren't really dedicated to the position. So look at any office or any workplace, and you have the same exact thing happen, and you usually have like 2 or 3 A players, and they carry the whole place. They do the majority of the work. Then you got a couple B players that, really help fill the gaps, and then you got 7 or 8 people that are just placeholders. They're not really doing shit half the time, So really, half of our country ain't doing shit anyway, but wasting time and wasting money. And they make these industries and these businesses, they make them, excessive and inefficient. They make the businesses lose money because they're not committed to it anyway.
Well, yeah, most of those businesses are, it's a backbiting game until you can make it to the top. That's what most of them are.
Yeah, they're stepping on each other's toes and trying to cut each other's throat, and it just creates this whole environment of sabotage. It sabotages itself. That's what I was saying. The way we're going is completely against the grain, and once we stop that, everything else is just going to fall into place. We don't have to worry about all these fighting for all these micromanaged justices. It's pretty ridiculous. What was the point I had there? We'll come back to it. Can't remember.
Coffee.
Like I heard, like you were saying, and people provoke all these people making these protests and all this stuff, and how it's all a big skew to create division between us, and how instead of doing a hard reset, we should do a soft reset, and waking people up slowly on this, and waking them up to what's really going on here. It's that approach on taking that, us being in Idaho and you being down where you are, what is it that we can do to make this approach without having a hard reset?
Well, the best thing we're going to be able to do is keep having these conversations. That way people can hear this and people can be like, wait a minute, this isn't some pipe dream. This isn't some bullshit. This is actually kind of easy if we just do it, because it really is. It's really just about changing our minds about, the propaganda that we've been fed this whole time. Yeah. And just like, what, this is kind of bullshit. Let's just change it. But you know what? Here's another thing. And I have to put the most emphasis on this, because a lot of people are going to be like, wait a minute. Once they realize that, hey, it doesn't have to be this way, then they're going to be like, wait, then it didn't have to be this way this whole time, but it has. And then people are going to get mad and be like, well, the legacy of my family has been hindered or shut down because we've been in this monetary slave system that never had happened. And I'm more worried about people getting pissed off and going off the hinges just because of that. And I would just say, to everybody, don't get upset about anything. It doesn't matter. Don't look to the past. Don't look in the rearview mirror. Look at the opportunity that we have in front of us. Look at the capabilities, that we have to achieve this divine opportunity. And like me and Samuel were talking about last time, he was like, well, what if we had started doing this 10 years ago? I was like, it kind of would have sucked, because people would have still felt like everything's okay and everything's working out, and we never would have made this, or had this opportunity to change or to reverse the tax system. This isn't just like, making a little change. This is absolutely reversing the flow of the IRS to where instead of individuals are paying in all their hard-earned money, they're actually getting money from the resources that are being taken from our land. Excuse me, I lost my train of thought there.
Another thing I was going to say. So, in my personal opinion, and my outlook on digital currency is a lot different than most. I don't believe necessarily in putting all of our balls and marbles in a digital currency, because
Yeah. No, I'm not saying
It's
that.
controlled. Yeah. I don't know if how you think on cryptocurrencies and stuff, and the people who are on top of it. And
Depends on who's regulating
and
it.
the governments who are regulating it and all this and that.
Well,
I believe that
governments. That's the whole point of the cryptocurrency is that what it is the ledger is stored in dozens of different server databases around the world. So there is no person controlling that.
They're pretty much just investing like stocks, basically.
The Federal Reserve right now can manipulate the numbers any way they want right now.
Yeah.
But you can't do that to cryptocurrency because the data is saved in, a dozen different servers around the world. So if they change the data in one server, then it doesn't match the other 10. And I'm like, hey, you're fucking pulling bullshit. So it's harder to manipulate it like that. So
the cryptocurrency is separated from a Federal Reserve standpoint.
Yeah, it's completely different.
Yeah.
It's segregated.
It's independent from all banks. And that's where most people like it. They're like, hey, fuck the banks. They're the ones that have been screwing us over this whole time anyway.
Yeah, like Bitcoin. Bitcoin's owned by its own separate entity from the Federal Reserve.
So say that these global governments that are trying to push this agenda of a digital currency, a one world digital currency, and limiting the resources for us to back our dollar, our fiat currency, that was all set up for this coming time, I believe. So what if that empire falls down and the people who are in control of the cryptocurrency, what if there was a way to shut that off? Like if we were to build cities and, communities off of cryptocurrency,